I am unashamed. What about you?
Welcome back to Unashamed. We got a house full of folks here today. We got a studio audience. We got some viewers today.
Why is that, though?
Huh?
Why do we have a studio audience?
Well, because we got a guest coming on later,
Oh.
and everybody's excited about our guest, so that's why everybody's here. If it's just us, nobody.
I've never met
If it's
this.
just us, it's this.
Yeah. Speaking of Zach, has anyone seen him?
Zach
or
is
heard-
MIA.
He's gone.
He's in parts unknown. He could be out west. That was the word I heard on the street. So
Maybe our treasure hunting show inspired him to go look for treasure.
So this is our new button, which we introduced last time. It takes two. That's breaking news. And so there was breaking news because your Christmas special has finally aired this week.
It's been well received.
People are loving it.
They are. It's amazing when you focus on Jesus, good things happen. So, we had this cliffhanger that I left, and now the people that have watched this have now realized that my lovely wife, with the aid of Jessica, pulled it off.
She did it.
They went in, Phil. Here was the plan. Because you got to remember, when you make these shows, they're like, well, y'all do Christmas. And they're like, what are some of your Christmas traditions? And I said, well, one of the things that we do is we have like a Louisiana Christmas with seafood.
Which we've almost outgrown now because we've got so many people to feed. And especially Willie's Wing, they eat so much. I don't know that we can cook enough shrimp to supply our family now. This is turned into quite the operation. Dad, I mean, you're going to break your back again if you stand there trying to fry shrimp for this particular group of people.
It can be done, but it'd take a while.
So I told the TV people, because I was in that weird world of, because our show's unscripted. We just do what we do. But I said, look, if you can talk my wife into trying some famous dish that my mom has cooked, where she's going to cook it, that'd be awesome, because she's not going to want to do it. But if it turns out bad, that is the show. I'm not saying, oh, babe, this is great. If it's terrible, it's terrible, because
Because of the code.
Well, right. The TV people, though, they want a warm, fuzzy, happy ending. But guess what? Sometimes in life, the food that you prepared was a bust.
And our code, the Robertson code that we were taught by you, Dad, was never compliment bad cooking, or you'll eat it the rest
We
of your
weren't
life.
taught that. We were brainwashed.
Well, it was a code. And we still live by it. Just like you don't tell another Robertson what to do. That was the unspoken code.
I mean, you got to remember the first 2 years of our marriage, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get as good as my parents in cooking, because I'd pretty much disqualified Missy from being a part of this. I mean, I was like, this is not going to work. And so, I had it was bumpy is an understatement. And I've told the famous story, 3 or 4 days into the marriage, if you hadn't heard it. She calls my mom, and she's like, how long do I boil this egg before it gets soft? Because I'm a couple hours into this, and it's just as hard as it was when I put it in the pan. This is where we started.
And she reminded me of that, and I said, ignorance is a dangerous thing.
My mom said, baby, that it has a shell on it. It's ready. It's been ready. You got to take that shell off if you want to get... Anyway, but I will say that in the last 30-some-odd years, my wife, she has become a great cook, not just a good cook. She is fantastic.
Yep.
And even though, I had to repent because I didn't believe in her. I mean, I just thought, no way, not going to happen. So she did it. Her and Jessica, no trick photography. They did call Miss K and get, because, Miss K's recipes, she has a lot of wiggle room in that. I mean, because her memory is not what it once was. And so there were a couple of additions that they because it didn't look right at first. But I'll have to admit, it was as fine, if not better, than any crawfish pie I've ever eaten in my life. And they cooked 2 of them, and in real time, we ate every crumb of those 2 crawfish pies, which should have told you.
Well, the episode is making me feel better because Jessica and Jeff are actually hosting Christmas this year. And so I was a little worried about it. And I was going to see how this all turned out to see what my Christmas plans were.
Well,
Jessica.
exactly. With any cooking skill, it's like you have to have validation.
Yep.
So they pulled it off once. It might have been a Christmas miracle. But I will have to admit, the tension was there. It was present because she knew. She's like, if this is a bust, it's going to be on national TV. And it all came from just, the time Phil made a point that in his opinion, Kay had ruined Christmas by cooking the shrimp too long, which happened 25 years ago.
But it's
remember
kind of
that,
the story
Phil?
that lived on. Remember when the shrimp they came out all in a big.
For you listening, Phil's winking.
He's
we
winking.
we just shoveled off that group of individuals on frying shrimp. Y'all are officially forevermore done on that. Somebody else will take over. So
Yeah, we got past it.
We got past it.
So it was a happy ending.
Christmas
start
was
with 4
saved.
people. You came next, Willie and Jeff.
Yeah.
They found women and married them.
Yeah.
The married women.
You make it
Started
sound like we were
having
just kind of
children.
wandering around. We found
What
it.
I'm saying is we started with, 4 individuals, 5 individuals. One I didn't know about.
Yes, you
We had
found
a
us.
surprise. Well, Jeff was actually a surprise too.
Yeah. So
'Cause last I heard, there was going to be no more babies. I mean, y'all didn't go into the
See,
details.
the kin folks now, the close kin, are at least 50. Well, 50,
It's more like 60.
well, 50 to 60.
Yeah.
So you got that, but that's, you just say it real quick, but that's a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. A lot of mouths. A lot of mouths to feed, Dad. Your
That's
kingdom
why
has
One of
expanded.
these, they told me this morning, somebody did. I think it was you. Some of the Kentucky fried chicken, then you got this fried chicken, that fried chicken. Well, they now are turning about $50 billion a year.
Oh, no, I was talking about Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A. Kentucky Fried. I'm not sure about Kentucky Fried Chicken, but Chick-fil-A is in the billions, yes. Multi-billions of. But that's Jesus
That's
chicken.
a lot of chicken.
I mean, that's
just-
that's sanctioned by the Lord himself, so that's why.
I love it. I mean, every
We eat
speech,
it before every podcast.
every speech I give, because these people talking about millions of years, ice ages, meteorites, and there were dinosaurs running all around, and then you look up after all that, and you're on your porch, and there's the chicken. He made it.
Made it through the whole
Made it
thing.
through the whole
Made
thing.
it. You tell me there's not a God? How'd the chicken make it? Everything's after him. They're eating them by the millions. How did he make it?
And all the things you can do when they drop one out,
An egg.
their rear end. So that's what you call an egg. It has some parts: egg yolk, egg white, shell. I mean, the chicken is he's a delightful young thing. I think we need that.
Visual graphic illustration of.
Well, think about the first guy that ate the egg. What was he thinking? Because, the thing came out of the chicken's butt, and you're thinking, that may be good. And somebody went in. Somebody dove
All I
in.
could say, times were hard.
Yeah. You reckon we can eat that? You could say that about a lot of things in Louisiana. I mean,
All
that's
right.
how the gumbo was established.
Well, that's right. The slum gullion, damn.
Yeah, you don't say what's in the gumbo, what's not in it. I think I've eaten a gumbo with everything you can possibly imagine in it.
Yeah, you put enough garlic in the Cajuns are right. You put enough garlic in anything, it's good. All right, so I'm super excited. We got a guest here today, and we're about to bring him on. And so that's why we have a studio audience.
And he's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
Just
he's
crazy.
He's a humorist, and so we're going to get his thoughts on life and everything going on in his world. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll introduce our guest. It's kind of end of year. People are thinking about next year, things they want to do, and I see a lot of ads out there going on for phones and phone services. But one of our sponsors, Patriot Mobile, for more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They stand behind their values, which are our values, and we love that. They're an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why we partner with them. They're extending their Black Friday deal to Every Friday Matters deal, which I like. You get a free smartphone when you switch today. They offer dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means that you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without having to fund things that you don't believe in. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're supporting free speech, religious freedom, sanctity of life, as well as our veterans and first responders. They have a 100% U.S.-based customer service team that makes switching easy. You get to keep your number, keep your existing phone, or for a limited time, you get a free smartphone from Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Phil, or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Friday76. So again, you get a free smartphone with promo code Friday76. This is a limited time offer. Join us and make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Phil, or call them at 972-PATRIOT. So welcome back to Unashamed. We have a very special guest. John Crist is on with us. Welcome, John.
The only guy without a Bible. Can you at least give me something up from up there? I got nothing.
A lot of them come and don't have theirs, but they leave with them.
Phil's got a plan.
He's got a plan.
We do this on purpose. Let him out without a Bible. We'll convince him by the end.
So that's what Phyllis came today because when she heard you were coming, she's a huge fan, my sister. And so she said, "Could I sit in?" And I'm like, "Well, sure."
So she's never been here before.
Oh no,
that doesn't make you.
She doesn't come at all unless someone here is already.
I found myself with you and you showing up. I don't have one of the little black boxes y'all carry.
Oh yeah,
No,
It's called a phone.
little black box.
Cell-free.
You don't have one?
Free zone.
Yeah.
So takes a while for me to get to know you.
He's actually leading a movement to try to get back the landline.
I get on board with that.
Yeah.
He's back to the landline.
We still don't know if the internet's gonna catch on. I mean, it's not. It's popular, but let's
Some of the stuff I
give it some
hear
time.
that dribbles down to me, I hear what people are saying they're going to do or what they are doing, and some of that stuff I'm like, I don't think so.
Nah. Well, my family's like my extended family is Amish,
Oh, okay.
so they don't have anything.
Oh, that's true.
And whenever we go around them for like family Christmas and stuff, we're like, we're happier than them because we got all the stuff, but we're all depressed and we got all the stuff. They're winning.
That's right.
If you look at the end of the day,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like Dad's like that. I mean, and what was ironic, John, is that Dad, so after the show ends, the first person who gets a new show, and it's a digital show, Blaze, is Dad.
Yeah.
In the Woods with Phil. And so the very guy who's like, Black Box, I don't know what it is, it's like he's out there with the new show. So
Well, that's interesting about the Amish. I did an event a couple years ago, and I think y'all went.
Yeah, we did it this last year.
So
The greatest people I've
you'll
ever met.
appreciate this.
how did you say I did an event a couple years and y'all went and they both knew exactly what you were talking about? What do you mean you did an event a couple years ago? And they're like, oh, yeah.
The Amish
You described nothing of it. And they go, oh, yeah, I remember
because
that.
it's the redneck mind. That's how it works. We're like a hive mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you do an event for about 1,500 Amish people, it stands out in your mind.
Oh, you remember
And
those.
he rode in on a John Deere tractor. I remember.
Yeah, I rode in on a John Deere tractor.
That's like me coming in here without a Bible. You riding into an Amish event on a tractor.
That's what happened. That's what happened.
Here.
And so when they introduced me, because it was, primitive, like you said. These are primitive people. They all clapped.
Yeah.
And it hit me in that moment because I wasn't sure what I was going to say. So I just said this. I said, so the fact that everyone clapped, because they introduced me as Jase Robertson, star of Duck Dynasty. And I said, the fact that everybody clapped means this idea of we don't have TVs, somebody's lying.
Somebody's not telling the truth.
And look, they all laughed.
They did?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I later found out
So y'all know who? Yeah.
Yeah, I later found out that during our show, they would rent hotel rooms and go in and have watch parties in the hotel room. And so, people cried. They were confronted. I don't know how it all worked out. I left. It was chaos.
I would say on the scale of people renting hotel rooms, that's probably the nicest thing anyone's ever done.
That's
you
what
know,
I thought the same
I
thing.
snuck away. I
snuck away to watch Duck
I didn't tell my parents. I snuck away, rented a hotel, and they busted in. He was watching Duck Dynasty. That's like an episode of a show.
This is
It's all
good.
secretive.
That would be a show.
He's checking into the hotel with a mustache and glasses on. Like, I can't let anybody know.
Yeah. So let me back up because I've already embarrassed myself because they said we had a guest on and they sent me a video. And when I watched it, it was not you.
That's not
So I was prepared to talk to someone else because I thought, man, you've shaved. So I
Who
met,
was it?
What was his name?
His name was Jarrett. But here was the funny thing, John. So I sent an email that said this guy, and his email was there, said he wanted to come back on our podcast.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't remember. Does anybody remember this guy? Because I don't remember him being on the podcast. That was the question. And then somebody else sent a video, Maddie. Jase watches the video. Well, somehow he thinks that's our guest today. I don't know how he made that leap, but that's how.
It's Blondie's fault.
It's Blondie's fault.
It's a sign that we've done too many podcasts.
Well, I should say this is the only podcast I've ever done that no one on the podcast requested me to be on it. Nor did you know I was on it. Yeah.
You just kind of showed up.
I'm coming on a podcast. I'm introducing myself. Hey, guys. How you doing? My name's John. You're like, oh, nice to meet you. This is supposed to be done by the PR people. They would go, he's Christian. Y'all are Christian. I was in Baton Rouge last night. They go,
That's
Let's
what
put us
happened.
together.
So I saw you and you didn't look like Jarrett. And I
look like
thought,
him.
well, so in that moment, because I thought, man, he's really shaved because the guy, Jarrett, he had a beard that was 4 foot long.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I didn't
He's
want
a
to
pastor
say
from Indiana. That's what Jay said. Yeah, our guest today's from Indiana. I said, no, he's from Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
It was like an Abbott.
So that's what happened. So
Confusing.
I didn't want to say, "Oh, you cut your beard," because in our parts, that's kind of just something you shouldn't say because it's kind of a premeditated thing that's frowned upon.
Cutting your beard?
So I noticed your hair, and I asked you, I was like, "How'd you get your hair to do that?"
Yeah.
And then I remember that it's a 40-minute trek down here.
Yeah.
And I thought, you must have had your head outside the window. Checking out this.
That's outside the window all the way down here. Well, because I rode on a horse and buggy, so we don't really have windows. Yeah.
He went back to his Amish. Tell
my
us,
roots.
tell them what you did see coming out here.
I was like, okay, because we passed I'm staying in West Monroe or Monroe, which one am I staying in?
You're in West Monroe.
Okay, so we passed the Duck Dynasty store.
Yeah.
I go,
it's technically Duck Commander.
I go, oh, there we are. She goes, no, we're still going. Because I saw in my itinerary, it took like 40 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
I go, well, this is the middle of nowhere. It's more middle of nowhere than this.
At what point did you think this was some kind of weird kidnapping?
Yeah, about 30 minutes in. And then we start to see it, and then no one's around for a while, and then we're just riding in the car together, and I see up ahead, it's like, I couldn't tell what it was. It seemed like it's seen from The Shining, and there was 3 guys standing out, like, beside the truck, and I go, oh, this is how it ends.
Yeah.
This is how it ends for me. Yeah. No one, there's no witnesses, by the way, that could be around for this crime. And we get closer, and it's 3 inmates standing beside a truck smoking cigarettes. And what was most alarming to me is she wasn't like, this is concerning. She's like, oh, this is regular. I go, if one of them would have walked in the middle of the street, stopped us, it's over.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to do.
No, now we're on the episode of First 48. Like, when did they see him last? Yeah.
So, is the guys picking up the trash.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because people
Look at
come
that,
out to these parts to dump their trash because there's no one here.
Okay,
And
so they just throw it out?
They let them out of their cells and take them to the country.
So the government said, there's people going out to where they think no one lives out here. Because you have to keep going as you see. And then all of a sudden, civilization pops up. Phil started that.
Yeah.
So then they think, well, let's send the inmates to go clean it up because they can't escape because there's nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You see him run away for 3 days.
That's basically how this works.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
You should have known by all the signs that you passed that has multiple bullet holes in
I
them.
did see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And some truck. Well, I feel like it's one of those streets that if a car that they haven't seen drives down, there's some, like in Training Day, there's some like when the cops come, there's a clapping and then everybody that's kind of the code. I feel like there's that.
Well, there's a guy. Let's take another break. There's a guy that lives down here that you passed. His empire is kind of like a Sanford and Son. He's kind of a redneck Sanford and Son.
But Empire in quotes.
It Empire.
Yeah.
And he told Dad that his goal in life was to be, because he has a travel trailer that he has there next to his house, that he can get out with one phone call from up the street or up the road. He can be out of here in 20 minutes. Everything he owns, gone. So that's his getaway plan is a 20-minute. Isn't that what he told you, Dad?
Yep, pretty well.
20 minutes.
20-minute plan.
What kind of stuff is he grabbing?
I think whatever he's sleeping on, that's it.
He's not a thief. He just borrows a lot of stuff and forgets to take them back.
He just permanently borrows a lot of stuff.
A lot of Dad's stuff is there, so that's
I had to get my chainsaw.
I tell you what, though, that fellow like that, a lot of people mistake him as far as fixing things. The other day, commode, it wouldn't stop flowing water. I said,
most people call a plumber.
I said, call old Red up. He calls Red commode. We got a commode that flush won't work. He said, Phil said, can you fix it? $20. He said, I'll be there in a minute.
$20.
So he pulls up. He fixes it in about 10 minutes. $20 change at hand. It's a great way to live, man.
Well, Phil, you got a deal on that.
That's a pretty good deal.
Good deal.
Because you can add a zero if you do that uptown.
I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that he's not paying taxes on that. I don't think that's being reported.
I think the government has no idea where this guy is. That's exactly what I think.
Well, I've learned about a blondie and a red and an Italian. So there's a lot going on.
That's
down
my
here.
dad. He doesn't like to call people by their name. So who knows what he's going to come up for you.
So if our audience hasn't figured it out, if you didn't already know, John, he's a comedian. And I was thinking about saying Christian comedian, but you're just a comedian who happens to be a Christian, right?
Oh, yeah. Are you guys Christian duck callers?
Well, I mean,
or you just a duck caller that's a Christian?
Exactly. That's why, which came
that?
first, right? We talked about the chicken and the egg earlier.
Well, the chicken came first, Al. I mean, God created the animals.
Okay. So you're saying that's
I solved that riddle for you.
Misnomer. All right.
I guess if I was a comedian first or a Christian first, I mean, I got saved when I was 9, but I was probably doing funny stuff before that.
Well, see, that's my question. You got a
never
large.
thought about that.
You're a Southerner. You're from Georgia.
Oh yeah.
You got a big family. We know now there's some Amish in there as well. So how did you get into the comedy world? How does
my dad was a preacher. He's a Pentecostal preacher.
It's all coming together. Pentecostal preacher.
yeah.
So there's all your material.
Oh, I was going to say, you got some material.
I have spoken at Pentecostal churches, and I really like the energy because, I'm an energy guy as far as the crowd.
There are a lot of clapping, chanting, hollering. Oh, yeah.
Running around.
You ever spoken at a Catholic church?
I think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've hit them all. It was a little
quieter.
It was a little more docile.
Welcome to. Oh, yeah, a little different.
Yeah.
Pentecostal. Well, they'll give you when you fall over, when the Holy Spirit, they'll put a blanket on you. So.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
No, when they pray for you and you fall over, then you're in the slain in the Spirit, and they throw a blanket over you.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, the group I was with, they started talking about marching around the building 7 times, and I remember that story.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a run for it in between. So I don't know if the actual building, they were fixing to go.
Oh, for real? This is not a Jericho story?
No, they were going to march around the church building 7 times.
So hopefully it falls over?
They didn't say that. I just
That didn't get covered.
after I spoke. That was
Then
what
they were
was-
going to march.
They were
You
really
go,
going to
"I'm outta
march.
here."
Maybe they were just doing a drama, a reenactment.
Wow.
But I thought, well, if didn't the building fall in?
Yeah, that was what they were. Yeah, I saw somebody that named their son Jericho. I go, well, that's not. That story didn't end well for Jericho. I go, that's not,
It's true.
It's like Jezebel, right?
Yeah,
There's
do you
certain
want-
names you
yeah.
don't really want.
like it's a Bible name. I was like, yeah, well, it's not one of the good ones. Yeah, that's
Call him Jerry and call it a day.
Jerry. It's short for Jericho.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Well,
So you grew up in this home. Were you like the funny kid in your family, or were other?
well, in
Sometimes
the church,
preacher families, I mean, they can be a little bit obtuse.
Yeah, is a good word, obtuse. Yeah. The preacher, I feel like when you listen to the sermons but you also know the preacher, you see the other side of it.
Yeah, I get
you know? Yeah. So if
You're
you,
like,
if you
wait a minute.
yeah. So if you're a big Duck Dynasty fan, you're like, oh, I love this, and then you meet you guys, you're like, oh, these guys are crazy, like on the inside. Yeah. Not just joking. Yeah.
No, we have a lot of similarities here.
Yeah, same type thing.
Well, right. That's why I spoke at an African American church, and they were amen, hallelujah, and then but a lot of the things they were saying was well,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what that meant. So when I asked about it, they said, well, that means that he's not agreeing with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So and he wants to catch you on the way out and give you a different version.
Well,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
wow.
I thought I really like that.
Oh, yeah.
I wish we could get that for all Americans.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when he's speaking.
Somebody's out there doing a press conference, and you're like, well, not really.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
So, but I noticed from watching a lot of your stuff, John, that one is you're self-deprecating, which I like. I mean, like you're willing to make fun of yourself and your family and all that, which we're the same way. But you're also I feel like the funniest, some of the funniest bits I watched you do were pointing out the absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And but you're really good at that, and even just your facial expression. Somebody you don't have to say anything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, that look right there. That's the one.
Yeah.
So
Like if it like we were at, I always tell a story about my sister. So they don't do. You guys will. I don't know what side you guys are going to be on this, but everybody now is with the gentle parenting. We don't hit our children. We're encouraging them. These kids are out of control.
yeah.
Out of control. Yeah. So I said, we're at Chili's after church. My nephew's on the ground screaming. No one's, please, we'll do anything. Like, what's your safe word? Like, tell us 3 encouraging things. Take a deep breath. They're calling their therapist. What should we do? One of my sisters is rubbing crystals together. We'll try this way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we got to start hitting these kids.
Yeah.
Because everybody, if you're in that restaurant, everybody's looking at this, and no one can. That's the beauty of comedy in 2023 is no one can say it out loud, but everyone is thinking it.
That's right.
Everybody is. You're like, oh, whether it's about all these things in the culture that everybody has to go, but everybody goes, no. Yeah, everybody knows the truth.
So there's the line of, should I be laughing at this?
Yeah. Because I think everybody thinks that.
Exactly.
They were like, you go to a fast food restaurant and you order, and they're like, do you care about children? And you're like, yes. And they're like, would you like to donate $1 to help children? You're like, nah. Yeah. On the inside, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you say no, right?
Yeah, you can't set me up like that. I don't like that he's turning into the Bible right now. After he's heard what he said, he goes, my God, I think
This
he needs
way
to
I
hear
can
this.
confirm it. Yeah, he's in.
I go into a joke. He starts flipping in his Bible.
He'll have a verse for you.
It's
at some point.
terrifying. I'm not saying anything, just
I think his point is, though, now, I mean, America's gotten so sensitive that even just secular comedians, they can't talk about anything. There's no, you can't make a joke because somebody's going to get your feelings hurt. And I mean, that's really what you're pointing out is the absurdity.
Well, people say it must be tough to be a comedian like in 2023. And I say the opposite, because comedy, by nature of it, you have to cross the line.
Yeah.
You say something you can't normally say. That's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And the line has been so pulled back. You can even say something like, that kid don't have a peanut allergy. And that's like wildly inflammatory.
Right.
Which back in the 90s, you had to say something so absurd, wild that would be across the line. Now the line is drawn right here, so all you have to do is like inch over it, and it's like makes it. I think makes a comedy
I think
much
you're
easier.
exactly. I never thought about that.
Much
But you're
easier.
right, which is why the old guys had to be work so blue and
you
had
had
the
to.
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because you had to kind of put that shocking stuff
Yeah.
out there. But you're right. Everything
Can't
else.
say nothing.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. I said last night, this is the only time in history where, probably not the employees of this place, but you work anywhere and you say something on Twitter, you could get fired.
Yeah.
Because somebody could say, I don't feel comfortable, or and then somebody would call your boss, and you could say something privately, personally, that could take away your livelihood. And that's never happened since I've been alive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So then everybody feels like they can't say nothing. So then the comedy show's packed
yeah.
because we all will say it.
Well, right. So you feel that's why people would laugh at you when you would be very graphic? Like, because I've heard Phil say from the pulpit, hey, tear their butt up, talking about kids. Well, everybody would uncomfortably laugh.
Because they're like, I can't believe he said that.
Right.
But Phil wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
He wasn't joking.
He's like, I'm dead serious.
Yeah, he was dead serious. And
He wouldn't even understand why people are laughing because, yeah.
which is my biggest problem. Every time I give a lot of speeches, do a lot of events.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed, I've shared this before, if I try to be funny, nobody laughs.
Yeah.
But then I'll say something and everybody will bust out laughing, and then I'm having to retrace what I just said.
Yeah,
and
like,
thought, why was that funny?
Yeah.
Because I was not kidding.
I'm dead
Well,
serious.
I always thought that Dad on the show, when I watched the show, I mean, obviously being a part of the family, but the first 3 years I watched the show, I wasn't on the show. But I laughed more at stuff Dad did because, like, it was a show, it was a humorous show, it was a funny show.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of people were trying to be funny and were, but Dad really was just being himself.
Yeah.
But I would laugh at that because it seems so weird the way he would explain things. Same thing was when you take a crawfish.
Oh, which was a famous scene.
Classic scene.
And they thought, what Hollywood writer wrote this?
It's like, no way.
Well, no, nobody wrote it.
He explained sex education with a crawfish.
Oh, yeah.
To my son and my nephew.
Right.
Yeah, using the crawfish, and he was using terms that you probably, wouldn't use on a TV show.
But I fell out on the
Unbelievable.
floor laughing
Yeah.
because it was so funny, but he was just being himself.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you look at it, people that can laugh at their mistakes or their miscues and all this, sin, death, forgiveness, if you look at all that, the whole bunch, this one, that one, everybody's still married to the woman they married.
Yeah.
So you say the children are behaving.
Mm-hmm.
It worked pretty good.
Laughter.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Discipline, yeah, there's a big discipline. You boys don't want to be doing that,
Yeah,
if you break a boat paddle by killing a possum,
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
you have to pay because you broke the boat handle. You got the coon, you got the cottonmouth, but you don't beat the animals with a boat paddle because you need those boat paddles. So,
Now, the end
things
about the
people
animal.
have to deal
Now,
with.
is that in here? Or is that,
now we're talking.
yeah.
Because
Now, where?
what happened was
They
Phil
devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship and the breaking of bread. You say,
Different translation.
This is going to break out some new material because
Okay.
Phil did a few things questionable in his parenting skills, especially right in that time period of going from one of the worst humans to one of the best via the Holy Spirit.
We
But
made a movie about it.
it was bumpy,
Yeah, there you
and
go.
so I rebelled against one. Now he had only about 3 or 4 rules, and the top 2 were awesome. It's don't disrespect your mom.
Yep.
Or you got a butt whooping.
3 legs.
No bloodshed in your fights among the brothers.
No bloodshed.
No bloodshed.
So if he
Everything
came
after that
in,
was okay.
if you had a little scrap,
It's fine.
no bloodshed, okay. But then he had this one that if you tear up equipment,
Perfectly good equipment. That
so
was
he gave an embellished version of that story just then, where he's like, you broke a boat paddle over an animal. No, there was a cottonmouth fixing to bite me and take my life. I would not be here.
Yeah.
I grabbed the thing that was closest to me, which was a boat paddle made in China. That's a key part of this.
Can you tell this has been discussed?
yes.
through the
Not
years?
well made.
Yeah, not well. Oh, yeah.
I kill the cottonmouth. We should have a party now because I could have died,
Still
but
alive.
now I have lived.
Yeah.
Part of the cost of that was breaking the boat paddle that was made in China.
Yeah.
So I got my butt tore up.
How old were you?
I was, 8 or 10?
Yeah, about
It was during the bumpy years.
Oh, yeah.
8 or 10 years old, and I thought we were going to have a party, and I told the story, and I got 3 licks on the buttocks
For that?
for breaking that paddle, because you don't break, because back then, we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was part of our commercial fishing
We had
operation.
nothing. Yeah, if you didn't have the paddle, you got nothing.
So then feels like,
We
but
would have rather had the paddle than you alive.
yeah,
Is that the message you got?
exactly. So you heard his response was like, yeah, but you turned out great.
Yeah. You're like, whoa.
I must have
Oh,
been
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
John, you could have been a therapist for this
That is
family. You're
incredible.
just like
Yeah.
I
totally.
feel like we've had an intervention. We laugh about it now.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's humorous.
All right, so I got to ask you this question. So we had a show, like early on, we were doing kind of crazy stuff. We were people in the faith community.
Yeah.
That was our biggest audience. We probably got more grief from our Christian
Oh, yeah.
friends than the other side. So do you get that too, or how does that
Oh,
work?
yeah.
Because I just was curious, just watching
Yeah.
your stuff, and I'm thinking, I bet some people are probably
yeah.
not amused.
Okay. We call it the friendly fire.
Exactly.
You if you go into battle, you expect to be attacked from the other side,
Right,
not
right,
from your own people.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of yeah. I mean, we have this show called First Time Visitor, and we could just go visit all the churches. Every time we were in a new city, we'd go to one. Just Pentecostal. We went to a black church. We went to a Latino church. We went to a cowboy church because I was raised in one. And then I was like, well, I want to see what all the other. I don't even know what they do in there.
Yeah.
And on the way down here, from my hotel to here, we probably passed 40.
Oh, yeah.
40,
At least.
At
right?
least. Yeah.
And so why did those start? Somebody in there goes, well, I don't like that.
yeah.
I don't like that they're making casseroles, or that Cheryl can wear jeans now and not a skirt. So we're going
Yeah.
we're going next door.
That's right.
They go next door a couple of years, and somebody goes, well, we want to start having a drum set in here, and they won't let us, so we're going next door, right?
Yep.
And then I think that, I've said this all the time, I think a local church is our only hope for this country. I don't want to get too, but I think the local church is our own, but the ones we pass hate the other ones
That's it.
Exactly.
because for some reason that's probably superficial.
Yep.
So, in my jokes.
We seriously take them seriously. We
Yeah.
love them all.
Yeah. We joke about it. I feel the same way. Yeah.
The biggest life-changing moment for me is when we did become famous, and since we weren't narrowed down to a specific group,
Yeah.
but we were in a cultural, secular setting,
Yeah.
everybody claimed us.
Yeah.
Which is why when you ask
Yeah.
me, have you been to a Catholic church? Yep. Have you
Oh,
been to
everybody claimed
Pentecostal?
you. Yeah.
It's like
The Amish claimed you.
Amish claim, which is why I went. I thought this is cool, and we had a fantastic time.
What do they pay you in livestock?
We talked about that because
They paid us in cheese, I think.
I actually asked for one of those tractors. They had these old tractors. I was like, well, can we just not pay me and
Yeah,
give
we
me
took
one
one
of
of
these tractors? And he's like, we're not giving you one of those tractors.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little money. They called it a love offering, and you can go buy your own tractor. It was fun because I was kidding, but they weren't.
Yeah.
So there was where the humor was.
So everybody adopt. I feel like that's the same because we do, like, there's a lot of, like, I mean, there's everybody in the show. And Brian Regan talks about that a lot. He goes, I did 3 weeks in Salt Lake City. He goes, the Mormons, they love me. He goes, I never said I was Mormon or anything, but they, values-wise, they kind of line up. And he's like, I've been out there. He's like,
Well, what I just concluded is that there's way more in common in
Yeah.
these churches than what we have
yeah,
different. And the bottom line is we kind of focus on Jesus. And, people, there's a reason why Jesus is who he is. I mean, everything about it is good. So It's been pretty amazing to learn that. So I kind of convicted myself too by also thinking that, they're different from me in something. So
I mean, the Amish have they don't, if you're, I'm trying to get this right, if you're single or if you're married, you cut like the Abe Lincoln beard. And if you have a mustache, that means you're married. Or that might mean you're single. And then when you cut it off, that means you're married. So even this mustache was not going to work. According to the Amish, you're not going to heaven with that. But
nobody said a word when I was up there. I realized that all the different looks, and I was making a few jokes on the way up there. I was like, it's like a starter beard. You got the psychiatrist look, I didn't realize this means something to them till somebody finally took me to the side and said, quit making fun of their beards. That's
they don't like that.
That's a symbol of which group they're with.
Well, in the like the Pentecostal community, and a lot of them come to my shows, is the women don't cut their hair ever and don't wear any makeup. Mm-hmm. So I could recognize if I was out, that's a Pentecostal, and same with the Amish. Some of them have dress or look that is very synonymous with their, I would say religion, but with their denomination.
Right.
Which is, if you're going to commit to doing that, you have to, like, all of them have their own unique kind of appearance.
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to say, well, what? You were running late, but I'm glad you made it. Would that be too far?
Yeah. Well, we do a portion in our show. I go, raise your hand if you started off one denomination and you are now a different denomination. And you have half the audience raise their hand.
Yeah.
Wow. And then I go, what'd you start? And they go, we started Catholic. And I go, what are you now? Like, now we're Methodist, or we started Presbyterian, and now we're Church of Christ, or And
then you probably have some people that were the opposite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Started out Methodist, and now you're Baptist. I go, you went backwards? But it's all, I mean, I feel like everybody's, if you, is similar to you guys, that you go, well, if he, quote, let's say, oversteps the bounds of their religious practice, that they would know, like, well, we know y'all's heart, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I know they're good guys, and I know they want what's best, and if they have messed up or gone astray, that they're not proud of that or something. Exactly. Think of the best of y'all. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, you're right, and I thought the same thing. We're very similar in what we do, because like, this setting that we do is sort of outside of a church, any particular church group.
Yeah.
But we do Bible study here. So obviously we're talking about the Bible, but then we also do humor and jokes.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's almost you ascend above a particular thing. Then you can talk about everything.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason I'm wearing this shirt that says I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So in our last few minutes, John, I wanted to, you like us have been very open about struggles.
Sure, absolutely.
Which we've done the same thing. Like when we got out there, I think most time people are in the public eye. When you're talking about from a, I guess from a worldly perspective, it's like the last thing you want people to know are your flaws and your mistakes.
Absolutely.
And so that's why everything's so secretive, and TMZ is in business to expose those flaws. Yeah. But like us, you've been open about it. Yeah. I mean, how has that been in terms of response to people, to you personally? Have you seen more grace? Have you seen more judgment?
Oh, man. I mean, everything I've been through in my own personal life, I've told... was I telling this the other day? In my kind of darkest days, I've been November 6th of this year, I just celebrated 4 years sober. Yeah, which is a miracle, man. Yeah. And I say a lot of times, like, publicly, people on Twitter, same with you guys, probably experience the same, just crushing you publicly, but privately, I say to a lot of people, I was like the whatever you want to call them, the body of Christ or the community of believers, has led mostly by my family, has kept me on earth. Yeah. For sure. For sure. That people publicly, you get on the internet, you could search all kind of horrific things about everyone sitting here. Yeah. And then privately, people never felt more care and more love when I was at my darkest. And that's a shame about the Christian community, that a lot of people think, oh man, like, friendly fire, like you said, the Christian community has turned on you, or I was like, I mean, maybe publicly, but privately, that's the farthest from the truth. And I wish there's a lot of people that have been, you come in church your whole life and then you get divorced and they kind of kick you to the curb, or there's a lot you have drinking alcohol and they say you can't. There's a lot of people that have been
can't do that.
Yeah, that's a bummer, because I've felt the opposite, and it's insecure on our part that someone gets divorced. And like I always tell the story, when I was a kid, we grew up very legalistic, and this girl we were like, no sex till marriage, and anything sexual is wrong outside of, and this girl, I remember, I was probably 16 in our church, got pregnant, and I stopped being friends with her because I didn't want to be seen with her.
Yeah.
Because she was, because of the way this church was set up, made a mistake. She was not married, and it was evident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I probably a couple years ago, I found her on Facebook, and I just want to say that I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah.
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 Because that was the best that I knew.
Yeah.
Based on what I had learned about my faith is obviously much stronger than that. That being seen with someone, it was not an indictment on me. But
it's funny because this podcast is called Unashamed. And so it's typically thought of, we're not ashamed of our faith. We're going to be bold. We're going to be strong. But, not being ashamed is taking away shame, which is what Jesus does.
Yep.
And you're right. I think it's sometimes easy for people to get in the shaming business when Jesus says, man, I'm not ashamed to call you my brother and my sister, my family, my true family, which is part of it. But that was one of the things I observed about you, which I appreciate.
Yeah, well, it's like you probably haven't seen it, but you ever seen the movie 8 Mile?
I have not. I live in the woods.
It's about it's like a rapper about, and then you talk about the other guy and trash him for all his secrets, and in the last scene of the movie, he goes first and he tells all of his.
Yeah,
he speaks, and then the other guy has no ammunition. So he goes, I'm going to get him on this. I'm going to get him on this. And then,
I see.
And then he does his rap first, and he exposes. He goes, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. And then the other guy goes, got nothing to say.
Right.
And that's, I think, a lot of, if you're like, dude, no one, any Christian or anybody, that there was a girl actually in our show on, Thursday. We were in San Antonio, Texas. We were in Austin, Texas. Girl got kicked out. She was drinking too much. She was carrying on and making a huge scene in the show. And everybody's like, she got kicked out, and the cops were there, and it was all, and I go, hey, we're not here to shame her or look down upon her, think we're better than her. I'm sober, but a day at a time. I'm one decision away from, and I think anybody that has a past or has made a bunch of horrific choices is not looking down on anybody.
They came and looked at some horrific things, and my family members, sons, daughters, said, Dad, we ought to make a movie before you repented and turned to God, when you were at your worst. I said, let me think on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought on it. I said, go for it.
Yeah.
So and by the way, it went ballistic.
Of course it did.
And the reason why is because people find hope in that. And the stories now we get back from Life Changes is the same thing you did. We always, I never connected to the 8 Mile, but I love that, because what we said was, if you just tell your stuff, it keeps the evil one from springing the trap on you.
Yeah.
Because you're already out there.
And Yeah.
Well, we're out of time. Man, that went fast, which meant it was good, John. So
with every head bowed and every eye closed. Is that how this ends or no?
That's how we're going to close. Appreciate having you on the podcast.
Absolutely,
You're
man.
about to go and do the duck call room. Jason, any last second advice for you?
As chaotic as this was, you might ought to figure out a way to buckle yourself in the seat.
So there's no Bibles over there.
No Bible.
Well, they brought, I think it was a guilty conscience at the end. Martin said,
You gotta get a
"Jace, why
Bible
don't
in.
you read us a Bible verse?"
Yeah.
And I think it was more just asking for grace and repentance over what had just happened.
Amen.
But,
Probably so.
Do you have any messages that you want me to tell them?
uh,
Are you guys rivals? The rival podcast?
We're kind of like sister podcasts.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. So I guess we're not really rivals, but ours
Yeah, but
is
it's-
better. So
it's that
Yeah, I'll tell them that. I'll tell
tell
them
them.
more
tell
like
them us-
cousins, Al, but it's kind of the cousin that you have trouble getting along with, when you get in close
Look, he's
proximity.
flipping again. He's flipping again.
All I know for
Tell
sure.
them they need more Bible.
All I know for sure, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It's not rude. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs.
Amen.
Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails.
there you go.
Amen.
So
Well
go
said.
forth, my man, and love them.
So check out John.
laughing and
Check out John on
do it.
YouTube. You will laugh. You will have a good time. His material is fantastic. So thanks for being on Unashamed, John.
Absolutely. It's an honor.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by rating us on iTunes. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube, and be sure to click that little bell to get notified about new episodes. And for even more content that you won't get anywhere else, subscribe to Blaze TV at blazetv.com/unashamed.